Hello and welcome. This is Jeff Bird with Jeffrey Bird Coaching, and I'm so glad that you tuned in and jumped on here with us. And I think we've got something very special and very needed for everybody today. I have on the show, I want to welcome our guest, Krista Lynn Resnick of Krista Resnick Coaching, and she is going to be bringing some thoughts that are just going to be very, very helpful and very needed for you today. She caught my attention with her post on Facebook, and what she had to say just deeply resonated. And so I reached out to her and asked her to be here, and here we are. So, Krista, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Jeff, it's such an honor to get to know you a little bit and just be in your energy and share some of the medicine that's helped me. Share it now with your people. So thank you for the opportunity.
You are so welcome, and I really can't wait to hear what you got to say. And I told you just before we started recording, I said I'm gonna kind of ask if you can do a State of the Union, and it's like this is probably the wrong time in our country to say that. But what I meant was the State of the Union about what's going on with us, not the country, but what's going on with us individually, and what you're sensing just from people, and what's happening with them, like you say, with our energy and kind of where we are. So I'm going to turn it over to you and just let you talk about that with us for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Big topics to unpack. And please feel free to interrupt me and interject and ask questions along the way if what I'm sharing maybe isn't quite making sense, or if there's a deeper route we can go down. But I think everybody's situation, of course, is unique, right? And truly, I can only speak from my own filter of the world and, some of the folks that I have come across and served. But I think we have a lot of different things happening in our world right now. I think, and I've been contemplating this so deeply. Social media right now is not any help. I think because we are so unrested, and we can talk a little bit more about what that means and what that looks like, but because we are a culture of such pushing, performing, pleasing, proving, that our nervous systems just don't have a chance to settle, to come back to that place of homeostasis. And so we always seem to have, and this isn't for everybody, but for a lot of the folks again that I serve and my personal experience, we never seem to be able to settle. And so when we can't settle, because we have these parts of us that are leading the show, they want to prove, they want to get it perfect, they want to get it right, they want to strive, they want to please, they want to know that they're being a good girl or a good boy and getting the accolades and doing it right. Any little drip in the water bucket of this already heightened nervous system state is causing us to kind of lash out and project and collapse and criticize and defend. And it's what I refer to as this armoring. It seems like we're going through the world so defended, always trying to prove ourselves, always trying to prove that our stance is the right stance, that we're doing it right, that we're getting it right, that it's just causing this conditioning of this deep unrest is what I'm personally noticing. And then, of course, we're all trying to fight for something on social media and trying to prove that our stance is right and this is right and my way of thinking is right. And because I'm right, that makes you wrong. And it's causing just this state of exhaustion and overwhelm and anxiety and spinning out. So I don't know if any of that made sense, if we want to kind of pull apart some of what I've shared already.
Well, yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. I love where you're going with that, and like just the way it translates into everyday life. I've caught myself in the last couple of days making multiple exclamations to myself, like, "Really? You have got to be kidding me! Give me a break!" Over these little teeny things that just didn't go the way I wanted them to. I mean, little things, little really insignificant things, but and I'm like, wow, it's really this internal state of exhaustion, like you say, and exasperation. It's
Yeah.
like another thing. Like I'll tell my wife sometimes, I'm like, wow, it's like where's the off ramp for this?
Yeah.
And so I think that, boy, I mean, I just resonate with that, with like everything you're saying. It totally makes sense and it totally resonates. And I think it will with a lot of folks that are listening to us too, because it just seems like exhaustion. I mean, just look at the driving on the highway. It's like everybody's in such a hurry to be somewhere that they're not. It's
Yeah.
like that they're just being reckless where they are. And I
Yeah.
think that it's not just for our driving on the interstates. That's true of a lot of things in our life. We just so desperately want to be somewhere other than where we are because where we are is so exhausting and exasperating.
Oh, I love that. That's such a really, that is a beautiful and profound point, Jeff. Just this constant state. And this is how I lived for probably 4 decades, was in urgency mode because I was so uncomfortable being in my own body,
Yeah.
being with myself, being with stillness. And so it's only been through tending to those deeper parts of me, those parts of me that so badly wanted to get it right, those parts of me that so desperately wanted to be seen, heard, valued, belong. Those parts of me were running the show. And so it was this, I have to prove myself constantly to the world. So I was taking on all of these things that were totally out of alignment for me. And maybe not all of them were out of alignment, but even if some of them were, I had to take everything to such an extreme because
Right.
there was this deep need of needing to know that I mattered, needing to know that I was enough, rather than coming from this place of, no, I know that I'm enough. And I trust that I am whole and that I am good.
Right. And I think, but, and I just want to say, I'm so grateful to be living in a world at this point. Often I say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm living in a world like this, but I'm glad and grateful to be living in a world with your voice in it, stating these things and daylighting these things and bringing them to our attention. But, as you share those things, I think that I've recently been studying trauma informed care and somatic breathing. And it's like all of those things we were striving for, all the disappointments, all the little traumas along the way get stored in our nervous system and in our
Yeah.
body. And it's like we're just accumulating them, like we're just stockpiling all these little
Yeah.
system responses to this trauma, whether major trauma or just minor things that didn't go our way. It rained when I wanted to go to the beach or something as little but as disappointing as that. So it's like they're just getting stored there, and it's like, where's the release for that? Where's the off switch? Where's the release valve? That's not something negative. I mean, I don't want to become an addict, as so many people do, or just attach myself to something for relief that doesn't really provide true relief. It just is a band-aid, and it causes yet another problem. So I've done that many years in my life. And it's like we don't want to go there. We want to get over that. So wow, it's like, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great
Yeah.
explanation and insight
Well,
into where we are.
yeah. And it's even showing those parts of ourselves that, because I am trauma informed, showing those parts of ourselves some love, those parts of us that so desperately want to numb and check out and stay busy. And we do that through, the endless scroll on social media, through overspending, uh, over drinking, overing anything. We can over personal growth and self help as well.
True
When we
story.
are sticking our nose in a personal growth book rather than doing our breathing exercises or trying to, as best we can, have a difficult conversation, we are numbing ourselves. So showing, and no one, I always say, nothing changes in the energy of judgment. Nothing. It
Wow.
is only through offering those parts of ourselves, those perfectionistic parts, those people pleasing parts, whatever parts we're talking about, it's through offering them compassion that they start to soften and we can actually see what's there to tend to and to be with those things that arise that might feel really difficult.
And I think along with that, it's so helpful to be around other people who are acknowledging that too. It's like,
Yes.
because then you're not just the odd man out or odd woman out. It's like you're in a group that's like, we can breathe, we can own these things, we can admit these things, and we can belong.
Yeah.
Because you reminded me of I don't know if you know him, but the author and speaker Patrick Lencioni. He says there is no there. Wherever it is we're trying to be, it's like we're not going to feel like we've arrived when we get there. It'll immediately be replaced with another task, another thing we want, another thing we think we need that we're striving after.
Yeah. Yeah. Spot on. Yes. It's really about, learning. This is the space that I'm in right now. I just keep coming back to what is my definition of success? What do I value? I recently went through my values and I narrowed them down to 3. And those are the things right now at this season of my life. Brand new empty nester, husband just retired. We got a lot of different things happening. Those values have been incredible for me to constantly, every day, sometimes hour by hour, go back to help me align to what is it that matters to me, because the world will always tell you this should matter, this should matter. We're constantly being served up ads and join this thing and take part of this thing, and many of them are good things, but that doesn't mean that they're the right things for us. So really knowing who you are and what you stand for is so crucial, I think, in today's world.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So, I want to ask you on the value, since you brought that up. Is that something you're comfortable sharing or leading people through to finding them for themselves? Some
Yeah,
questions to ask, maybe?
absolutely. So I actually went through it with a business coach and colleague recently, kind of had somebody hold my hand a little bit. I mean, I've done it a lot in the past, and they've never really changed a whole lot, but they have changed a little recently as I am approaching the age of 50 and I want different things now in my life, but just really looking at, and I believe we used Brene Brown's list, I think it was, and she might have added a few extras to that list, which Brene Brown's list you can just find online for free. You can find a lot of values lists online for free. Brene's is nice because she keeps it kind of short and sweet. I mean, some values assessments have up to 300 different words. I don't know that that's necessary. I think that could potentially be a little overkill, and people, well, I know I could get lost in that. So what we boiled it down to, as I really sat with them, and I sat with them for a while, and the ones that I kept coming back to as I would slow down, as I would breathe, as I would feel into my body, the ones that really resonated for me were simplicity, fun, and authenticity.
Wow.
Now, there were a lot of words underneath those that also could have um, been the word. So, like authenticity, one of my words underneath that is freedom. So, feeling the freedom to be myself, feeling the freedom to be who I really am. That's being authentic, but they're kind of one and the same. And so ultimately, again, as I slowed down, as I breathed through them, as I felt into my body, authenticity really seemed to be the lead runner. Fun. At almost 50 years old, I want to do things that make me feel alive and that I get excited about and that bring pleasure into my life. I kept coming back, I kept thinking to myself, fun seems so trite. It seems so like, can that actually be a value? And I almost tabled it for
Hmm.
those reasons. And
Wow.
again, the power of slowing down, the power of just giving yourself space, breathing, feeling into your body. I knew, no, fun. Fun is something that really matters to me at this stage of my life. I want to have fun. Up until this point, there were so many things that I had to do. I had to get up early in the morning to get a workout in if I wanted to get that workout in before kids were up. And it was hard, it was challenging, and yes, it produced persistence and discipline and all of those beautiful things in my life, and it made me tired. Often I was very like, two things can be true. So now at this stage in my life, I just want simplicity. I want things to just be simple and clear. And the simple and the more space I create in my life, the more fun it is, the more space I have to be authentic, to be free, to be me, to rest, to just say, you know what? That sounds like fun. I want to take part in that. Or, you know what? No, thanks. That doesn't sound like fun to me. I guess I'm not going to be there. Sorry. So that's kind of how I went through the process, not really making a big deal about it. I kept it really light. I kept it really simple. I kept it really fun. I mean, there's those words again, and they just resonated in my body. That's ultimately what your values should do, is resonate in your body. They need to feel true to you.
I love that. And it's interesting what images come to mind. Like when you say fun, I'd love to know what images pop into people's mind. When you said fun, I immediately saw like a beautiful meadow out in the Rocky Mountains in summer, somewhere in Colorado, just hiking along and not having to be anywhere, not having any pressure, just enjoying what's around, the beauty that's around, and the freedom that's around. So it's interesting. I think what images pop into mind. I'd love to. I think I might start asking people that question actually. What when I say fun, what comes to your mind?
Well, right. I mean, and that's where we get to play with our values and have fun. There's that word again, with them, because what's fun to me is not going to be fun to you. So
Right.
we get to define, once we know our values, we get to define what they actually mean to us.
We do. And then I'm thinking about that, like I'm thinking about it with my wife. So I read a book some time ago called A Severe Mercy. It was about Sheldon Van Auken and letters from C.S. Lewis to him. And one of the things that he and his wife decided they would do early on is whenever one of them had an interest, the other one would learn about that interest. Because
Mm.
whatever was fun, in other words, in this context, whatever was fun for them, they would find out about. It's like, well, I didn't marry a lunatic. It's like obviously there's some reason that they find some value and joy in that. So let me find out what it is. And so in doing that, they didn't grow apart into their world, into the world of their own interest. They grew together into the world of each other's interest. And I'm like, wow,
Mm.
that's so amazing. Finding out what someone else thinks is fun and finding out why they value that.
Jeff, that I'm really glad that you shared that, because you said something earlier as well. And I'm going to try to weave it all together about, said something in regard to community and
Mhm.
recognizing kind of the soup. You didn't say the word soup, but recognizing the soup that you're swimming in, and how healthy it is to be with those like-minded people. And same for what you just said is, and here's where I'll kind of try weaving this together. We are a world, and here's where I'm gonna oust out the self-help and the personal growth industry a little bit. We haven't always done a good job in reminding people that this is a group effort, that we're not independent. It's, there's so much of this, I am superwoman, hear me roar, or I'm a solopreneur, or what's the other the word that comes to mind, one, not one man show, but the word, I'm losing the word, I made it to the top by myself, basically. There's a word.
Successful or no, or well, I don't know, like a very
It just,
individualistic
yeah,
kind of
this
thing.
rugged individualism. Yeah. No. We
Yeah.
were created for community and for people and to belong. And so I love that story of what you shared, that I think we do have a responsibility. When we care about somebody, my partner's really great. My husband's wonderful about kind of peeking over my shoulder going, oh, what? Oh, you're learning about that. Oh, that's, and it's not that he, I just learned how to bake sourdough bread.
Oh,
He's
cool.
probably not going to learn how to make sourdough bread. Maybe at this season of his life, but he's also interested in why I'm interested in it and sort of peeking over my shoulder and watching me and asking me questions because he cares, because that builds community, that builds common ground. And when we slow down and we listen and we see the dignity of another person in front of us, we start to understand that there's so much richness and texture and depth to this person. And we let curiosity lead us rather than talking about ourselves all the time and what's interesting to us. That's how we build true connection. We were made to do that, but we're so busy. Again, we're so caught up in those patterns of me. I gotta show everybody my accolades and my 715th certification and my this and my that and running people over. We're lonely. We're lonely. I think that's really a key component to this conversation.
Yeah,
Community matters.
absolutely. And it's fun. It's like, because I already know what I think. I don't know what you think or what somebody else thinks. So I mean, asking the question expands me. Uh,
Yes.
the idea, the image that came to my mind as you were talking about this was just being out with my wife looking at the clouds, and I want to know, well, what do you see? What do you
Mm,
think it looks like? And that's a very simplistic metaphor there, but it's like it really works. It's like tell me what you see when you look at that. Or she does art, and she's getting ready to teach me how to do watercolors, and I'm like, it's so interesting. I used to always come. I usually go to bed before her, but I would come down at night, and she would always be watching art videos, and so I'm like, oh my goodness, she's watching art videos again. Versus, what are you seeing in the art videos? What is cool about that to you? What do you appreciate about that? How does that work?
yeah.
And just
Yeah. I
learning
noticed
about.
those art videos light you up. Tell me more about that. It can
Yeah,
actually be that simple. Tell me more about that. I noticed that when you do whatever, you bake your sourdough bread, you kind of light up. Tell me more about that. I mean, that's a deep, rich that's truly getting to know the heart of someone. But again, when we're so busy running around, as I call it, kind of unrested, we're not taking time to really be with people and see people.
yeah. We're just getting through things to get on to the next thing rather than being in the moment, enjoying that thing and appreciating that thing, really understanding it. Of course,
Appreciation is something I love that you said that I would say for about the past, for sure, month, maybe even 2 months, that word is top of mind for me. Just looking through this lens, filtering every day, scanning my environment, my world, my conversations, my relationships through this lens of appreciation. And I am telling you what, it is a game changer and it has opened my heart big time. Big time. It's really profound when we start to appreciate the little intricacies, the big things, and everything in between, how much it can expand and open our hearts.
yeah. I agree with that, and I think you'll like this analogy. This just came to mind. So we had just a couple of weeks ago bloom in our yard. My wife and I love gardening and flowers especially, but it's a process. And we had this beautiful stargazer lily that bloomed and stayed with us for a couple of weeks, and it was just unbelievably gorgeous. It smelled so good. But it occurred to me as I was looking at that, and I told my wife, I said, that didn't just happen. We didn't
Mm,
plant a seed yesterday and have a stargazer lily today. There was a process, and every step along the way through all of those days where there was no flower yet, it was developing a flower as all those nutrients were being carried from the soil up to the flower. So every single day there's something to appreciate in the process. I'm one day closer to the stargazer, to the lily, than we were yesterday. There's something to
mm,
appreciate even in the process. And I think that often in the world that we live in, we don't appreciate process at all for ourselves. All we appreciate is the moment of the gold medal ceremony. It's like when it finally comes to fruition, then we go, okay, well that's really great, and then we're on to the next achievement. Instead of going, let me appreciate this development and this process and the things I'm learning and the things I'm appreciating and the people that are in my path along the way and where they are. I think that I think, and even as I say that, I'm aware that there's so much more to be done with that personally.
yeah. And so much of that comes from healing again those uh, parts of us, those inner child wounds, so that we're able to really slow down, rest, and see with these rested eyes.
Right. Not somebody, I heard somebody say recently, and you may have heard it. They said, instead of looking at the things that trigger us, instead of the trigger moments, let's find the glitter moments. Let's
Yeah.
find those things where we're really we're not just being triggered by things, we're really appreciating and recognizing the growth and recognizing the beauty of the moment, and just really, like you say, breathing into it, taking a deep breath and releasing all that tension from our nervous system, and getting that out and just being present,
Yeah.
and doing that as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Rick Hansen talks about, psychologist Rick Hansen talks about taking in the good. And I think about that a lot. It's so easy for us to take in the negative. We're hardwired that way, to see where there is danger and how can I protect? How can I put on that pattern of armor? We're seeing that a lot right now. How can I defend my stance? How can I make sure that they know that I'm right and therefore they're wrong and therefore I win? And so when we can just slow down, pause, and just take in what's good right now, what's good, man, it helps us see people so differently. It helps us see our world and the richness so differently.
Yeah, and something recently that impacted me greatly, is, it's been around for a long time, since 1990, but back in '77, NASA sent out a deep space probe called the Voyager 1, and it went 3.7 billion miles from the sun, and now it's gone even farther. But when it was right on the edge of our solar system, Carl Sagan suggested to NASA that they aim the camera back towards Earth and take a picture. And it is
Mm,
this little, they did that, and it's this little teeny tiny Earth is this teeny tiny little pinhead, and they named the photo the pale blue dot, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a dot. And
yeah.
I was looking at that, and I thought, and Sagan has a brilliant speech on it, on YouTube. But it said, everything we've ever known, everybody we've ever known, everything that ever happened, our entire lives are comprised on this pale blue dot, and
Yeah.
everything that we get is informed by that, and we don't even see the rest of this universe and the glory of it, because we put so many lights on to be drowned out in the sky. But
Mm,
it's like there's so much more out there to inform us of things, rather than just the cues we get from the, and often misread, from this pale blue dot. It's
yeah.
like there's so much more, it's so much bigger and more amazing and more majestic and more grand. And it's just, it pays to get out of my head. I've got a friend that's a medical social worker, and she'll call me and she's like, I just need to get out of my head for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know, I know you and I have talked a lot about the practice of yoga nidra, and it, I, I could say so much about it, but the thing that is really important for me to share is it was safe for me still to live in my head. That was where I found safety. Let me tell people what I know. Let me show people how many accolades I have. Let people see how many certifications I am, so that they can see how smart I am, so that I feel safe, because I didn't feel safe in my own body. So the power of yoga nidra, why it's been so medicinal for me, is it's helped me to come out of my head, because when I'm in my head, I'm usually about 552 steps ahead of myself. I'm
Right.
out there worrying, planning, prodding along, sitting in fear, whatever it is. But when I come home to the breath, when I come home to the body, it is the only place that I have to be, is just here right now in this very present moment. And so that's the potency of what yoga nidra and what rest, some of my rest practices I refer to, have done for me, is help me just come home to the body and recognize this breath right here, this present moment now. This is what
Wow.
matters.
I love that. Love that. Now, just for the sake of people who may be listening who don't know what yoga nidra is, I know when they see the word yoga, if you're like me, my wife and I try to do some yoga bedtime exercises recently, and I'm like, they're doing what? That's like the most painful. How long did they train to practice to be able to do that? So, can you explain? And I know yoga nidra is very different. I didn't even know you could relax your tongue, but or your eyes, but turns out
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
So could you kind of just explain a little bit about that and how it practically works?
Yeah, absolutely. So yoga nidra is a deep state of consciousness. It is referred to as yogic sleep. So
Mm.
what it's basically doing is it's moving us through these brain waves and sort of almost putting our ourselves to sleep, but in a conscious way. It's putting our body to sleep, but we're still very awake and present and conscious. It's going through the five koshas. So we're moving through the physical body, the mental body, emotional body, the bliss body, the wisdom body, and it's meditation. I mean, yoga nidra is a lot of things. I'm kind of throwing a lot at you here. It's meditation, but it is, as my instructor likes to say, meditation with a cherry on top. So, for me personally, I meditated for years, and many days I would come off my meditation cushion feeling almost as if I had failed.
Mhm.
My mind was wandering, my back was aching, my hips were hurting. Every once in a blue moon, I would come off the meditation cushion and I would feel like, yay, today's the day. I rocked it. I was present. I was aware. I was whatever. Um, Yoga Nidra takes all of that, it removes all of that. And so it's this beautiful state of being able to really comfort the nervous system because we lie down and we make ourselves cozy through blankets, through eye pillows, through whatever it is that makes you feel warm and cozy within yourself. You're providing this bubble of safety. You are guided through by someone's voice. You can self lead in yoga nidra, but I would say that's probably a very advanced practice. And so typically what you're doing is you're listening to someone guide you through all of these breath techniques, body awareness techniques. There's an intention that you set for your practice. Intention is a very, what I'm recognizing for myself, a profound portal, I guess we'll call it, to healing. When we get in the car and want to go somewhere, what do? We type it into our GPS
Right.
and we're directed to land at our destination. That's basically what an intention is doing. A little bit different than a goal. A goal we tend to fixate on. An intention is just putting something out there, such as my intention is to be present in my body. My intention is to create safety in my body. My intention is to cultivate a more spacious and slow life. Those are just a few examples of what, I mean, your intention can be anything.
Mm.
And so our intention becomes this very profound way of staying on track with what it is we want to create in our life. So we weave the intention into the yoga nidra as well, and we lie down, and again we go to this state of this consciousness that is it's just where everything else shuts off and we can just be with ourselves and be in this state of knowing that we are whole and that we are enough and that it's okay to simply be. That is enough. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I've done that and I love it. And I really get into a state that it's just non-recognizable otherwise. And I actually like to what you said about letting someone lead that for you. I find that to be so much easier to do because that's another way of getting out of my head. I'm
Yeah.
just tuned into that voice. I'm not trying to remember the steps and figure things out and do things in my head because that can get. I'm like, okay, what was that next step? And then I get lost on that. I get out of it because of that. But
Mhm.
so I wanted to bring up something. I probably should have discussed this with you ahead of time. I'm just going to throw it out there and see where we go. So, from the spiritual side of things, I find this, and I wouldn't have used to. I would have used to have thought this was some new agey practice that was just, not the wrong thing. But now I'm seeing this and other modalities as gifts,
Yeah.
gifts that God gave. And I even think about Jesus's words that his mission statement was abundant life. He came to give abundant life. And so we know a lot of the details of that and the sacraments and the things we do. But I think that these type of things are also part of the gifts that he's given, even created, if you want to go there, to help bring abundant life. He didn't say he came to bring abundant busyness. He said he came to bring abundant life, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, thank heavens, thank you for just the time to sit and look at the clouds or the
Yeah.
sky or the birds or the plants or the trees or doing practices like this. So I think I'm seeing now that these aren't just out there woo-woo things. These are gifts that are essential to help us connect with the life he's really given us, what we really are. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Oh, you're making me tear up. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Because I think we probably, without going down a rabbit hole, have maybe similar backstories a little bit.
Mm,
I was trained and taught that my body was sinful and it was
right,
bad and I was
right.
bad. And I don't believe that any longer. I
Yeah,
believe that when God created me, he said, "You are made in my image and you are good. You are
right.
good." Period. Nothing else
I
to
love
discuss
that.
there, right? You are
Thank
good.
you. I mean, that was extremely well said. I mean, that was, and I think that thing is that thinking that we're just there's something wrong with us. I feel like from the time I was 3 years old, there was a computer file in my brain called "You're not doing it right," and everything along those lines fit into that. And it was
Yes.
just such a sense of judgment and condemnation, and always trying to be the right thing rather than just being and accepting and just loving and relaxing, resting. I mean, Jesus said, "Come to me, I'll give you rest." Not come to me and I'll make you feel like crap. Come to me and I'll give you rest.
Abide in me. Yeah. And so to your point, my early upbringing years, home life, church, along with educational institutions, taught me that I was very broken and
Right.
I needed to be fixed. And
Right.
so that's even how I approached many of these healing modalities, many of my coaching certifications, all of it. It was through this lens of I'm broken. Maybe this certification will fix me. Maybe this book will fix me. Maybe this podcast, everything was about how can I fix me? Now, these weren't things I was consciously saying, but this is what was sitting beneath in the subconscious. And so once I was able to heal through, still healing through at times, because I don't think we're ever healed, ED. I think there's always another layer that we get to play with and unravel and look at and be with. So as I was able to kind of set some of that aside and be with some of that, and that simmered down through love and compassion and nurturing and tending to those parts of me that did feel broken, I was able to recognize that there's nothing sinful or new agey or anything about these tools. These are beautiful practices that help us, support us, bolster us, however you want to call us, to remember who God said we were way back in Genesis, that you are mine and you are good. We just forget. I mean, it's actually as simple as that, Jeff. God said in the beginning, because you have the breath of life within me, you're mine and you are good. Great. Awesome. And then life happens and we forget. So, yoga nidra, or whatever it is for you, you fill in the blank. Whatever your tool, your modality is, that helps you remember who God said you were. It's that simple. Keep
I
at it.
just
Keep practicing.
yes, yes, absolutely. And and as you were sharing that, what came to my mind is it's not the real us that needs to be fixed. It's the us that we created believing the lie that we needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
It's like you think about Eve in the garden. There was nothing wrong with her. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong, but she was made to believe that there was something wrong with her, that she had to do something bad to fix, and then that was the problem. That mentality, that lie was the problem, not her.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So yes, it's tending to all of those, whatever, again, your armor, your mask, your pattern, your coping strategy, whatever you have created, whether again, it's people pleasing, avoiding, scrolling, drinking, and anything that we tend to overindulge in, it's nurturing those parts of ourselves, knowing that that's probably a mask that we have put on. There's no such thing as self-sabotage. It's only self-protection, because it's hard to be a human. It's hard.
Oh,
I just had this
yes, it is.
conversation with my kids the other night. I said, I don't care what anybody says about the next generation and blah, blah, blah. It's freaking hard to be a young person in today's world. It's
Yeah.
hard to be a human. Being a human is wobbly and messy, and it hurts, and people hurt us. It's hard. And so we armor. It's like, I don't want to feel that way again. So I'm going to put on this mask of people pleasing, and I'm just going to be the good girl so that everybody thinks I'm good and perfect. And oh, she's got her, all her stuff together. And it's learning how to, because that will come with a cost. That's not sustainable.
Right.
And so it's learning at some point to heal that part of ourselves and to take the mask off and to learn a different way of being, and remembering that who we are is good and whole and divine and perfect in God's image, because that's what he said, and I'm not going to argue it.
Right. Right. Yeah, he's got some experience and expertise on the subject.
Yes, I think he does.
So, wow, yes, and exactly, and we are more on the same track than I even realized when I reached out to you to talk about the yoga nidra. So I was thinking there's many more things we could talk about, but I think this is probably we don't want to give people a drink out of a fire hydrant, so I think we're giving them a lot already. We've unpacked a lot of things here, so I think maybe we'll come back if you're up for it, and maybe we'll do something on breath work or some other modalities that can help with that. But I think that's probably enough for today. But I don't want to leave without letting you share with people how they can get in touch and do a yoga nidra class or communicate with you. And I know we're going to put your links in the description, but is there something that you would like to share out there? Do you have some upcoming events? I know you had one last weekend. Are there others coming up in the near future that people can save the date for?
Yes, yes. So right now I am taking, as are recording this, I'm really leaning into those values of simplicity
Hmm.
and fun. And I'm being authentic. That's the third one. And I'm taking a pause from a lot of online offerings as we speak. Now that will be changing. I'm working on a brand new website that probably will be released this fall, where I'm starting to infuse those values. I'm sort of starting to see what's coming down the road in terms of online offerings. And again, infusing those values into those things. So I'm not offering a lot online right now. I'm doing more offering in person. I'm really feeling passionate about being in a room with people
Hmm.
and building community. People, and this would be another episode for another day, people are lonely.
Yeah.
People are lonely. And I've had my business online now for, gosh, I don't know, 8, 9 years. And it's always worked beautifully for me. But I'm really noticing it's so easy to retreat. And it's so easy to just be in the comfort of our own home, which is amazing. And because two things can be true, I'm also feeling that tug of just wanting to be back in a room with people, building community, sharing our heart's desires, sharing our intentions, sharing our hurts. So right now I'm doing more in-person offering for the summer than I am online offerings. However, I do have a yoga nidra reset for the nervous system that people can have and enjoy for free, listen to it. And then once you download that, you'll be added to my newsletter where you'll know of any upcoming offerings that I'll be putting out into the world late summer, early fall.
Excellent, excellent. And for those who are lucky enough to be in your vicinity, where is that vicinity? Where are those in-person things happening?
So I am teaching either at a yoga studio, brand new yoga studio, wonderful, wonderful space that's opening up in Cumberland, Wisconsin called
Mm.
The Lodge. I feel so blessed to be a part of this yoga studio. The owner is just fabulous in many ways. So I'm offering some classes there, as well as offering some classes at our yoga, or not our yoga, our local golf event,
Oh,
golf community, golf course, I guess it would be. I'm offering some therapeutic yoga sessions for folks in our community there as well.
yeah. Well, that's excellent. And again, I will get your links and we'll share those in the description for the YouTube. And wow, well, just thanks so much. This has been a refreshing conversation. Just talking about these things and thinking into them. So wow, I really appreciate you being here and responding to my request for this to see if you'd want to come on, and you did. And so here we are. And this has been a great time together. And I hope we get to do this again.
Yeah, it's been an honor, Jeff. Thank you.
Yes, you are so welcome. Now let me put my glasses on and see if I can figure out how to cut this off. Because okay, hey, there.